Put this on. Can you guys hear me? I think you guys can hear me. Welcome, everyone. This is Andre's Restart. Tonight, we're just talking about what's going on with the Nintendo Direct. We might talk a little bit about the Nintendo Q3 earnings release. I am thinking about putting together some kind of video about this relating to Switch 2 tomorrow. But, if you guys ask about it, we'll probably dive a little bit into the numbers. Some of it's pretty interesting, like Tears of the Kingdom only selling like 750,000 during the holidays. So that's kind of an interesting subject that I might be kind of a little bit of fuel for me for another video I'm planning for later this week as well. We'll see how things pan out, unless there's like a direct tomorrow, which I don't think there will be, or even an announcement for one at this stage of the game. But there are things going on here, and I don't want to say I know what's going to happen, but I have reason to be suspicious of what is going to happen when it comes to the Nintendo Direct, if that makes any sense. I think you guys may be aware of what I'm getting at here. I just, it's not, but let's just put it this way. There's more to it than just public evidence. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to that, right? So I have a suspicion that comes from a place that is outside of public information, away from that. But the thing is, when it comes to that I don't want to necessarily believe that, because it's not. I don't think there's enough of this suspicion from outside public information that makes me think, oh, that's got to be what it is. But it definitely is affecting my thought process right now. And so, anyway, so just to make it clear, right, we're going to be talking about the direct situation. We're going to be talking about Nintendo in general, the financials. That's the general plan for the evening. We'll see how things go, because this is kind of me. I mean, if you've been to my live streams before, it's very fluid, based off what you guys ask in the chat. That will sort of steer where we go. But I guess something I want to speak on is that to sort of clarifying some things. There's a few things that I want to clarify on. So first, there's a lot of conversation that happens on social media, right? And so, like, sometimes, right, I will talk about something, and then I'll talk about it again a few days later, and then I'll talk about it again a week later, and then I'll talk about it again 2 weeks later. And so I do that. Yes, I do. And the reason I do that, it's not because I'm rehashing the same exact topic. It's because there's a new perspective or more evidence has presented itself, so it's changed the conversation. And so, in my opinion, those that kind of attack creators for maybe making multiple videos about a direct, for example, or multiple videos about Switch 2, for example, or any other topic that's been kind of brewing lately, if there's more information to discuss, then that would be the intellectually genuine thing to do. To not talk about it when more information has presented itself, I would argue, is actually disingenuous. So for those that speak ill of revisiting a topic when there's new information to kind of that changes the perspective on what you have, like, I think that's very reasonable. So there's a little bit of that, right? But also something else that I've noticed, right? Because I did a live stream last week where we did the Nintendo Direct bingo, right? But if you were a part of that live stream, that bingo was a thing that we were doing for fun in preparation for Nintendo Prime's podcast, where we wanted to do the Direct bingo. And there was a back and forth between me and you guys talking about things and debating, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, right? And so that Direct bingo, if you actually watch the live stream, you would be aware it isn't necessarily representative of what I think is actually going to happen. It definitely it definitely is affected by what I think is going to happen, but it was a conversation, and it was a combined effort by everyone watching that stream, right? That bingo card is a product of the collective thoughts from that live stream. And so the reason I bring this up, it isn't to say that the things there everything I said there, I felt at the time, but as evidence presents itself, your opinion can change, right? Your perspective can change. And so if you've been following me consistently lately and paying attention to the videos I've been putting out, yes, I have been entertaining more strongly the idea that maybe we don't get like a big general Nintendo Direct next week, or whatever happens in the month of February, as we usually get it, right? And for those saying that I'm throwing a curveball, have I? Because first off, yes, opinions can change, right? But also, I've been talking about a Direct Mini or not a normal Direct happening since September, when we got that general Direct. My perspective, I would say, was actually been fairly consistent since when we got that September Direct. I was like, oh guys, I think this Direct pretty much spells out that Switch 2 is coming soon, and that's been my perspective. But I also have mentioned several times since then that September Direct may have been the last full general Direct that is just about the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm not saying that was a prediction, but it's a conversation that I started having then, right? And so lately, the last week or so, after that live stream where we did the bingo, the Direct predictions bingo, something occurred that has caused a shift in my perspective on what to expect for the Direct. Even though since September, I've been thinking, hey, there's a possibility this Direct is not even going to be that big of a deal. And I'm not saying this Direct won't be that big of a deal. I'm saying I don't know, but I have reasons to be suspicious, if that makes sense, right? So basically, I don't know what's going to happen. That's the truth. I don't know. But there are different things going on that are having me consider different possibilities. And so I just want to kind of put that out there to get things started. And as we kind of go through a live stream, maybe you guys will get a better perspective of what I'm thinking. And I want to hear what you guys are thinking as well. Maybe what you guys have to say will help steer me into a better direction. Or, maybe we're just going to exchange thoughts and then that's it. So I just want to put that out there to just sort of start off the stream, because I don't know. I've been divided on this. If you've been watching the last couple of videos, you should already be aware that I've been unsure of what's going to happen here, because I think when it comes to this Nintendo Direct, as literally the title of this live stream suggests, like, I am not sure what's going on with this Direct. It feels weird to me. And I think it feels weird to me because I do believe Switch 2 is going to be announced soon. My prediction is by the end of March 31st, 2024. And so I'm sticking with that prediction still. That has not changed. And so how does Nintendo go about giving us information right before a big system reveal? Like that's where things get a little tricky for me. But let's check in with the chat, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Pop out chat so I can see it. Very good. All right, I can now see the chat. All right, I'm gonna kind of run through and try and catch up here. Okay. Danny Darkrai, you've expected this since for the second week of February. Okay. Pixel Ghost, nah, I'm not expecting anything anymore. If it comes out, it'll be a surprise. If not, then oh well. I'm sure it'll be one of those. It was delayed moments, right? In delayed moments. Okay. Huntress Main, fave Nintendo franchise. My favorite Nintendo franchise is The Legend of Zelda. That Zelda's number one for me. Metroid and Super Mario and Xenoblade. I would say Xenoblade is under Super Mario and Metroid for me, but only by a little bit. And so that's kind of how I rank them. All the others, that's a longer discussion. Hello there, Chris. Thank you for modding. Hello there, Sean Castle Singer. Thank you for lurking. I appreciate it. Connor Atsey. Hi, Andrews. How's it going? Next week on Thursday, will the final direct be the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think we could get Tamagotchi Life, Triple Deluxe, and Planet Robobot on Switch? I don't think we're getting all of those. Maybe one of them. Maybe. Sky Swords Alyssa, hello there. Hello there, Zachary. Hello there, Ronnie. Hello there, Wyatt. You're ready for Switch U. That'll be fun. Having Hope, hello. Ronnie and Connor, thank you for letting me know everything sounds good. I appreciate that. Shout out to Nintendo Prime in the chat saying sus. I'm not sure why, but all right. Chrono Rig with the super chat. Let me put that up here. All right. Thank you for super chat, Chrono. Hey, Andre, I'm so confused about this discourse that 20 million is not enough for Tears of the Kingdom is ridiculous, and you need to bring it up on the Prime podcast. Well, maybe I'll bring it up on tomorrow when I'm there. So I yeah, I mean we can touch on that, to kind of start things off. Let's see if I have some imagery to share here. Let's see. I think I had something. Yep, there we go. All right, let me share this with you guys. Some of you may have already seen this already, right? But it is very interesting. So here, right? This may be confusing, but basically here they just tell us Tears of the Kingdom has sold 20.28 million units. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is as of December 31st, 2023, right? Well, as of September 30th, 2023, the last fiscal earnings report, Tears of the Kingdom was at 19.5 million. And so during the October, November, December period, last year, the holidays, Tears of the Kingdom only sold a little bit over 750,000 copies. Not even 1 million copies. And so I would say that is a surprising slowdown. I do feel that way. Now, on the flip side, a lot of people bought Tears of the Kingdom at first. And so you could argue a lot of its sales were front loaded. It was the big release throughout the year. Everyone had tons of opportunity to pick up the game. And so you could argue that, come holidays, most people who wanted to play Tears of the Kingdom had already played Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, that's obvious. That seems to be the case based off the sales, right? So I guess the question is, is this a bad or a good thing? Well, I'm not sure how Nintendo feels about the sales of Tears of the Kingdom during the holidays. But I do know that Nintendo was actually very surprised. Well, maybe very surprised is a little loaded. But I know that the sales of Tears of the Kingdom exceeded their expectations up to the point of September. So Tears of the Kingdom did better than Nintendo expected as of September 30th. I haven't read any of the Q&As, if there's any Q&As available that speak on how they feel about Tears of the Kingdom now after its holiday sales. But the fact of the matter is, it sold over 20 million copies, right? It's in the top 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games, and so that's pretty good. It's pretty good. But also, I do got to say, I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is going to outsell Breath of the Wild anymore. I think it was in doubt for a while. It's been in doubt for a while already, but now I don't expect it anymore. And there's a few factors for this. One, it is the I would say the semi disappointing holiday sales, right? They did really well before that point. And 750,000 isn't necessarily terrible. It's just all relative. It's relative, but I would say, considering how much they sold beforehand, it's definitely a huge drop off, right? But when you look at, for example, Breath of the Wild, that game has sold almost like around 32 million, something like that. Let me see if I can double check that here. Let's see, top selling sales. First, I have a different tab up, I know. Let's see. Yeah, let me just share this real quick. Yeah, so it's Breath of the Wild's at 31.61. Tears of the Kingdom is 22.28, right? All right, cool. Anyways, so I'll stop sharing for a moment. Point I'm getting at here is that Breath of the Wild, they had a DLC plan for Breath of the Wild when it came out March of 2017. So the DLC, on top of Breath of the Wild being such a new experience, that was the launch of the Nintendo Switch, all of those things really propelled its sales throughout that first year, including the holidays. And obviously, there weren't that many Switches out there at that point, so there wasn't really an opportunity for Breath of the Wild to achieve the same levels of success immediately as Tears of the Kingdom has done, right? But as we've seen throughout the Switch era, Breath of the Wild has continued to sell consistently. And I think I saw earlier, Breath of the Wild during the holiday season sold almost 500,000 copies, 460,000. So 460,000 versus like 760,000, something like that. Breath of the Wild didn't sell that much worse than Tears of the Kingdom during the holidays, right? And so what I find interesting, right? Tears of the Kingdom is still fairly recent. This is the first holiday where Tears of the Kingdom was available, and it only sold that much. And so what's going to happen years down the road, especially as Switch becomes less and less relevant? Software sales are trending downwards. In case you may have missed that, yes, they are trending downwards. So it does make me curious on, the long-term potential for Tears of the Kingdom. With the momentum of Switch dying down, still relatively strong for its time. It's very good, but it is dying down. There is no DLC. Tears of the Kingdom doesn't feel as new because it's a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, and it's not a game that's a part of the launch hype of a new console. All those things are not helping it to have long legs in the same way Breath of the Wild did. And so unless Nintendo announces like an amazing like sort of graphical enhancement with like new content expansion, I don't see Tears of the Kingdom having any chance to catch Breath of the Wild. And I don't think what I just described is going to happen, because Nintendo has already told us multiple times that there are no plans for DLC. And so if you announce you could do a graphics patch or a graphics enhanced version on Switch too, but to also have that coincide with like an expansion with new content, to me, because you said multiple times that there will be no DLC, that would be disingenuous, and I just don't think that's the direction Nintendo is going. So I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is going to pass Breath of the Wild lifetime. It may still continue to sell. Maybe it gets to 23, 24, even 25 million. Well, only time will truly tell. But I guess the question I would then ask is, does that matter? Like, does Tears of the Kingdom need to outsell Breath of the Wild? Like, something that's worth noting, Tears of the Kingdom is a $70 game. Breath of the Wild is a $60 game. And so I'm just saying, Breath of the Wild sold so much more that the difference it doesn't matter that much at this point. But selling 20.28 million, yeah, it's the amount of revenue there is insane. Like, we're talking I don't even know. It's a big number. I pulled up my phone and calc. It's a big number. So I get the point is though, right? Is that Tears of the Kingdom at $70 with how much they sold, building off of Breath of the Wild, right? Not creating a whole new art style and engine. I think that's pretty successful. And maybe that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be Breath of the Wild, but if it's close, that's pretty good. And so maybe that's it. And I don't think it's a problem, Chrono. It just is what it is. Of course, we won't know for sure until time progresses, right? Because what if Tears of the Kingdom continues to sell like 300,000 to 400,000 every 3 months? It'll continue to grow, and years from now, 5 years from now, it might be at 30 million, right? So we'll see. All right, next super chat. Taker 610, thank you for the super chat. Andres, is Tuesday the day for live streams now? I don't want to put a consistent date. I think I've just been more fluid lately. Like, I did a live stream randomly on Saturday. Not necessarily Tuesdays. In general, I'm going to try and live stream around 8 p.m. at night twice a week, unless I have a weekend stream planned, which last Saturday was the first time I've done that, but it was very successful. I had a good time. And so I may look to do more, but also I can take breaks on Saturdays, right? So I have no guarantee it'll be on Saturday, but maybe Sundays. We'll see. It's not, yeah, Tuesday's not the forever consistent time. Honestly, I was thinking about doing something yesterday, but I was tired, and also there wasn't much news, right? And so waiting until tonight makes a lot of sense because we have a lot more to talk about tonight than we did yesterday, right? We have the Q3 earnings release to talk about, and we also have the direct report from Universal Nintendo to talk about. We did not have these things to talk about last night. And maybe the Universal report came out around that time. Let me double check the release time of that. Let's see here. It came out at 8:58 p.m. So my stream started at 8, right? So I wouldn't have seen it until nearly halfway through the stream, if not more so. So it just made sense to do it Tuesday this time. I know I've been doing it Tuesdays a lot lately. It's going to be fluid. So that's pretty much it. Next super chat. Sam Talks Games. Thank you for the super chat. Dude, I honestly think Switch can pass PS2 in sales. It only needs 15 to 15.5 million more in sales. Maybe by the end of 2025 it can. Oh, I 100% already believe Nintendo Switch is going to become the best-selling system of all time. I think Nintendo Switch is going to hit the 160 million mark sometime in the year 2025. That is what I believe. Can I be wrong? Of course. This is what I believe. It's not fact until it happens. But we're already at 139 plus. I think Nintendo actually surpassed their hardware forecast a little bit, so that's good news. We'll see how they close things out in these last 3 months. But they're doing well, right? They're going to pass 140 million before the end of the fiscal year. And I think they can sell 20 million after that. How do you do it? Well, just let the Switch exist. Pretty much. To me, I almost feel like it's a foregone conclusion. Just keep it on the store shelves for a couple more years, and it's probably going to happen. But going beyond that, this kind of goes to what we heard from Takashi Mochizuki earlier today. And here he says Nintendo's president should this. Well, it's actually from President Furukawa, but he shared it to us. That President Furukawa said Switch continues to be the company's main business going into 2024, and it should be. So I mentioned this on Twitter earlier today, right? But even if Nintendo comes out guns blazing with Switch 2 later this year, and they sell like 15 million systems in this calendar year, which would be insane if they were to do that because they're not starting early with Switch 2. If they were to pull something like that off, I would still say Switch is still their primary business, because with 139 million plus people who have a Nintendo Switch out there, right, or systems out there, the attach rates are insane. Paul Gill has been talking about numbers lately, and he's been doing a great job of it, so I recommend checking him out on Twitter. But we're getting close to the point where the ratio between systems out there and games bought per system is 1 to 9. It's like 1 to 8.6 something right now. And that's a huge, incredible ratio. And it's only looking to get better because with more systems out there, more people are buying games. Software sales improve as the generation draws on. That's generally how it goes until you start reaching that saturation point, right? And so we are past the saturation point. Things are starting to dip, but they're still really strong, right? So hardware sales are trending downwards faster than software sales. So in other words, the ratio, like software sales are still really good. And so that ratio is looking to get better. Point is, Nintendo's making a lot of money right now, a lot of money. And so Nintendo Switch, it needs to kind of stay a pivotal piece to their business. Like that makes total sense. But also there's always a transitional phase between one generation and the next, right? Especially now because Nintendo focuses on one platform at a time. These next couple of years are going to be very interesting because they're going to continue to sell and push Switch for the next couple of years while Switch 2 starts to gain an audience, right? And then that's where eventually that'll become their main business. But even if you sell 15 million, the amount of sales you're going to get from that is just not going to compare to the 140 plus million that Switch will have, right? And so, yes, I think they're going to continue to push Switch. There are going to be games coming out for Switch. I think there are going to be more bundles. I think there's going to be a price drop, at least for the OLED, maybe others. I think there's going to be another revision for the Switch 1. And I think it may even be this year. Why do I think that? Even though I think Switch 2 is coming out this year? Because, historically speaking, that is what happens. When Nintendo releases a next generation console, you will also find that they will release a cheaper model of their prior gen console. When the Wii U came out in 2012, the one also came out in 2012, the Nintendo Wii Mini. Also in 2017, when the Switch came out, you want to know what came out then as well? The new 2DS XL. And so I expect there will be another Switch revision, a cheaper one. There will be a price drop. There will be more games coming. Pokemon is still going to be releasing for the Switch this year. And so all of those things have yet to happen, and we're already about to pass 140 million. So, yeah, I think the Switch will become the best-selling console of all time. I think it's going to pass 160 million systems sold lifetime. Does that happen next year? I'm predicting sometime next year, right? But that could be almost 2 years from now. Maybe it slows down even faster than that. But as long as we keep the system on the market for a few years, I think we will get to that point. So it's totally happening, in my opinion. Oh, for the record, PS2 is like somewhere above 155 million for those wondering, and DS is at a 154. So me throwing out that 160 mark, that's where I think Switch is at, which would put it as the best selling, in case that point wasn't made clear. Attack the Backlog with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Hey, dude, hope you're well. I think Direct will be small and used to update Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Peach, and Luigi and smaller titles. Switch to announcements in March. I hope that's what it is. I want it. So what I want is a Nintendo Direct that is fun but reasonable, and it leads into Switch 2. That's what I'm hoping for. And so, I'm not expecting the world when we get the Direct. Not expecting that. So I'd be okay with what you're suggesting here. Attack the Backlog. Got another super chat here. Daniel Vargas, thank you. Hola, fellow Miamian. Hola to yourself as well. How you doing? It's a little cold for Miami standards right now, right? And BW for Smash has renewed their membership. They've been a member for a whole year. Thank you for sticking around all this time. I very much appreciate it. And so let me get back to the live chat here. Where is it? I mean, this is all live chat, but All right. Johnny Hernandez. What about GameCube games on Switch Online? We made a video about it a couple weeks ago, right? Basically, we had trademarks for N64 the same way we have for GameCube now, back in like 2017, and everyone thought that was for N64 Mini, like the N64 Classic, like the same way we had an SNES Classic and an NES Classic. People thought that's what it was for, and eventually we did get something N64 related. It was N64 for Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack years later, and so. By that, I expect that we will get GameCube something, but years later. And I mean, if you just think about what's going on right now, we're getting a lot of remasters, a lot of which are from GameCube. And so those games are being sold for $40, $50, $60 a piece. Putting a whole bunch of them on NSO right now probably wouldn't be the best business move for Nintendo. However, a few years from now, if you want to update your NSO package, right, for Switch 2 owners, then I could see it happening. A few years from now, once they've exhausted a lot of the GameCube remasters that they think will make the most sense, get those sales, and then just put out some, just GameCube games across the board, NSO. Like, I think that could work, especially for titles that Nintendo wouldn't even bother remastering. Like, say, maybe, for example, Wave Race Blue Storm. And based off the way Nintendo has handled NSO, where these games actually have online multiplayer. If they have multiplayer, it'd be really cool to be playing Wave Race Blue Storm with people. So I do hope it happens. I just don't think it's happening anytime soon. So that's my expectation based off how we've seen these trademarks and things work. Nintendo Prime, you may feel attacked, but you are also always being attacked. So this is a norm for you. This is a consistent, stable norm for you. You're just the ultimate punching bag. You have to have, like, I don't know, like tungsten or carbon fiber skin at this point. The most durable. I think this is going on. Where I'm at in the chat right now is when I went on my opening tangent for why we talk about things and why we will revisit topics, because as evidence presents itself, more new information will arise. But here, Miles Davis says, "I agree, man. You do a good job. It's stuff I'm interested in, and I appreciate you keeping me updated." Thank you for saying that. That helps keep me going. Honestly, it really does. Thank you. Ronnie Fazio adds me, so with Xbox potentially going full third party, do you think the Switch 2 would be powerful enough to be enough competition to keep Sony in check? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think Sony is going to dominate the universe, and I think it's just time we bow down to the Sony gods. Nah, I don't think that. I mean, the thing is, Xbox has kind of been a non-threat for a while, I would argue. And what's also interesting, if Xbox, I think, all right, well, apparently we're going to get an update next week, right? We're going to kind of get a better perspective of what Microsoft's future plans are. But I kind of think they're still going to be pushing hardware, but they're not going to be too concerned about selling it. Like, they're going to sell some, but I think maybe it's going to be more about, getting content out there. So they're going to become, they're already a pseudo third party for Nintendo and Sony. And I think that's going to continue. But what's interesting about that, though, is that Microsoft is going to play an interesting role here, because they can kind of steer the competition a little bit, right? Because what if Microsoft's like, you know what, Nintendo, we're giving you Call of Duty. Sony, they never signed that contract. They're done. Like, it's kind of interesting how that could work. Like, Microsoft will have an ability to kind of steer things because they have access to a lot of big games. But they've bought out, what Activision Blizzard, like they have, Bethesda. Like, there's a lot of cool companies that are now under the Microsoft umbrella. And so there's a lot of games that they have the rights to, and they can kind of steer where those go. And so it's really interesting to kind of consider that. That said, I think Nintendo's at a point where they're going to have their own sort of part of the market. Sony's going to have their own part of the market. And I think that, Microsoft, I mean, keep in mind, Microsoft also is on PC, right? So, like, Xbox going away isn't really Microsoft going away. And, you still have the whole PC master race thing, right? So PC gaming has been a thing, and PC gaming is larger than console gaming, last I heard, right? Probably by a lot even. So I don't know if it's even fair to say that Sony would dominate, even if they were to dominate Nintendo, which I don't think they'll do. You can make the argument Nintendo dominates Sony. I don't really care about the console war things. I as long as it can all be successful. Will I say that as a Nintendo fan, I do get a little bit happier when I see Nintendo doing better? I do. Like, yes, I am biased towards Nintendo, right? Like, kind of like a sports team. Like, there are certain teams I root for more than others, right? So, and yes, I do root for Nintendo more than I do for Sony or Microsoft. 100% true. But I also don't want to see Sony and Microsoft go. I'm interested in their products as well. I play their games as well. And so, to just get to your question, I think Sony is going to do their thing. I think they've been kind of doing their thing already, and Microsoft hasn't been able to really do much against them. And yet Nintendo's still been very successful with Switch in the meanwhile. So I think Switch 2 is going to do its own thing. I think Sony's going to do its own thing. I think Microsoft is going to do their own thing, even if it's not a whole bunch of hardware. Oscar Dinos, I hope you're wrong. If it's a me, then we're definitely getting anything Metroid. I just want to clarify something. I'm not saying with 100% certainty it's not a big direct next week. I am saying I think it. I am saying I'm leaning in that direction, right? But I want it to be a full direct, right? I want there to be a full direct, because I do want Metroid as well, right? So I hope I'm wrong too. We're on the same page, Oscar. Like, I hope I'm wrong. You hope I'm wrong. Let's all hope I'm wrong here. That's fine. You know, I just want to warn everyone. Let's be cautious. Let's be cautious. That's all I'm saying. I love discussing possibilities. If I see evidence, I'm going to bring it up. It's like, hey, this kind of makes sense to suggest something like the Twilight Princess stuff, right? With the amiibo restocks and the manga. Like, it definitely has you leaning in this direction. I do kind of feel this way, but I also, you know, I was kind of having a conversation with Bo earlier, Bo Talks Games, and we were talking about, you know, how, well, yeah, the Wolf Thing amiibo was very curious, but this isn't the first time they've restocked since 2016 either. So it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, Twilight Princess HD, right? But then you also have the Twilight Princess manga restocks, or like them putting that out there, and so that's interesting. But also, you know, Viz does things like this, so it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen. But the fact that they're happening around the same time, though, is very curious. Now, something that feels like a bit of a ding, though, is that we had the Zelda concert that's happening this week. And so we thought that would coincide with Direct Week. But it's apparently it's not. And we'll get into that a little bit later into the stream. So it doesn't look like there's a Direct this week, but, you know, it's not a foregone conclusion either. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But, you know, with the assumption there isn't a Direct this week, that Zelda concert's no longer happening after a Direct. It's just happening, right? And so the idea of maybe us getting a Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD announcement, and then there being a Zelda concert, and then there being amiibo restocks a few weeks later, and then this Twilight Princess manga coming out all around the same time, with the Zelda concert not happening after a Direct announcement, it seems it changes that perspective a little bit, right? So I'll say that I've been a little bit back and forth on the Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD thing, and it's also one of those things where we've been burned so many times. Now, granted, there isn't a rumor, right? And so that's something else that I think should be noted here. And this is something else that kind of really eats at me. How a lot of people will just call something, like they use the term rumor very blanket, or leak very blanket. And I'll say, like, I've definitely gotten, I think I sometimes jumble up rumor and leak before. I think over time I've gotten better with that. But something that's been happening, I've noticed a lot lately, that kind of bothers me a little bit. And this is no shade to anyone in particular, right? Because I think this is an issue of like a colloquialism, right? Where people just use something very interchangeably. And so the problem with that is that when you start calling something a rumor, people are like, oh, so it's coming from a source, right? And so, for example, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, yes, there is a rumor for that. But this rumor goes back from years ago from Andy Robinson. Years ago. It's the same rumor. It's not a new rumor, right? And so there's no rumor that they're going to be in a Nintendo Direct this week or next week. There is none of that, right? If there is, it's probably coming from a bogus place. Or if you've heard a credible person, please let me know, because I'll get really excited. But the reason we're talking about it is because of public things that have been going on, right? They're not rumors. It is a fact that the Wolf Link amiibo is getting restocked in GameStop, right? It is a fact that a Twilight Princess manga is coming out. It is a fact that there is a Zelda concert happening later this week. These are facts. They're not rumors. But these facts don't confirm or prove that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD are about to be announced, right? It's a theory. That's what it is. It's a theory. It's a theory that this rumor may finally materialize, and that may be confusing, but I do think the distinction is important, because if you don't make that distinction, a lot of people that don't take the time to read the sources or fact check are going to get confused and start spreading misinformation, and thus the story gets thrown overboard, or it just, you know, people kind of sort of lose what's actually going on. And so that's why I kind of think, like, the distinction between calling something a theory and a rumor and a prediction and a leak, while that all may kind of be used interchangeably, it shouldn't, because it causes confusion and it leads to misinformation. So just want to put that out there. Anyway, moving on. Stick Snack, hello there. Yep, I almost didn't stream it. I honestly was feeling kind of tired, but something I almost had put the stream to schedule a few hours ago, and then I stopped. I want to see if Brandon can make it. Brandon can't make it tonight, so he was too tired. And I was feeling tired as well. But after I ate dinner, I was like, you know what? Let me schedule a stream. Like I had it ready, but I was thinking about holding. It was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stream tonight, and there's a lot to talk about, and I'm happy I'm doing it now. So here we are. That's it. 10,000 noodles. Andres is underhyping irresponsibly now. There I go. I am now underhyping. That's what it is. Diego Gonzalez with a very interesting question here. Hey, Andres Restart. What do you think about the implementation of VR features for Metroid Prime 4? So when you say VR features, you mean virtual reality features, right? And so the implication would be that there would need to be some way to experience this VR, right? And so technically the Switch has Labo VR. So I guess they could tack that on if they want, but Labo VR is kind of no longer relevant. So I don't think they would do it for that. But I guess, so I think what you're really getting at here is does Switch 2 have VR capabilities? And if so, could this cross-gen version of Metroid Prime 4 have these VR features? And so I'll tell you that I would be interested. Typically, first-person games are ideal for VR, right? That's how a lot of them work, and it would be interesting. I think what's cool about it, if you've ever used a VR set before, I've used a couple. They do a really good job of sort of tricking your mind that you're in a different place. Like you're in a unique space until you bump into the table or the wall because you accidentally went too close to the invisible sort of barrier that the VR room sets, right? So if you don't know how it works, right? So you'll put on a headset, and typically you kind of have like you're in a rectangular like box, right? That's mapped to the room you're in, and so once that's set, that becomes an environment, and you can move around in it, right? Or depending on the game, physically, and that causes movement in the game, and you can look around like it does trick your mind. For me, it does kind of make me feel like I'm in it, and so that's immersion, right? That's something that's really special about VR is that it facilitates a high level of immersion, really making you feel like you're in it. And so what's interesting about that is that potential compatibility with Metroid, because some of these strong points of Metroid, especially the Metroid Prime games, is immersion. I would like to go back and look into like the decision into making Metroid Prime 1 originally back on GameCube first person. This was Miyamoto's idea. And I wonder if the thinking behind it had to do with increasing immersion. Because going into first person, the idea is to kind of make you feel like you're the character, right? And with Metroid, they try and put a lot of details into the world that make it feel interactive and really draw you in and have this atmosphere. And so the idea of Metroid Prime 4 doing this to an incredible level without VR, right? But then also having VR as an option where you can throw yourself into this space, if executed well, that would be really cool. It also might be terrifying. I might not want to do it because, I would do it. I'm a sport, man. So for me, it's kind of funny. I like watching horror movies. I like horror video games. I love going to like haunted houses, like for Halloween, like you can go through a space and people will chase you and stuff. Like I think that's fun. Like I get into it. I'll scream. Like I'll get into it, right? But also, if push comes to shove, I'm not running away from a fight. Just me saying, right? Like, I've been face to face with like wild animals before, like a crocodile, a snake. It's happened, right? And I don't run. I'm like, I sort it out, right? So I guess my point is, if Metroid Prime 4 was really scary, I would still do it, but I would definitely let myself get immersed and have fun with it and freak out. So, yeah. It would be extremely cool. And I would love to like just like thinking about like imagine like exotic plant life and like you could like take Samus's hand and like kind of wave across and seeing the plant move. That would be cool. That would be so cool. Hello there, Paul. How you doing, buddy? Cold Brew, hoping to finally see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for the love of God. Yeah, I feel the same way. All right. My chat is confusing me. Oh, it looks like Attack the Backlog has gifted 1 membership. Who got the membership? I didn't get to see who was awarded the membership. Let me see if I can find it here. Ah, Wily Tiger. Welcome. Very cool. All right, so Alizy Aragoni. Andres, what do you think? Do you think Nintendo will keep bringing Wii games on the Switch? What about smaller games like Endless Ocean? Ooh, I would love to see something like that. Well, I mean, if we can get another Code Recollection, why can't we get Endless Ocean? That would be fun. I think we're gonna get more remasters, which will include Wii games for the next couple of years. Maybe not as much as we're getting now, because I think Switch support will start to slow down. But I think more are coming, and so that's an interesting option there. On that note, though, if we ever get like a GameCube to NSO, Wii NSO, I think will be the next one, right? Maybe they even come together a handful of years from now, or 3 to 4 years from now, and maybe Endless Ocean is a part of that. I would love to see that. Zalado, what do you think about the Xbox shenanigans? I think this is a way for Microsoft to creep around more with its games and other platforms. So eventually Game Pass, do cloud only, and carry a fan base. Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely want to push, Game Pass for sure. I am definitely feeling like Hi-Fi Rush is going to be announced for Switch soon. Like, if I have one prediction that I'm not giving up on, it's that. I think Hi-Fi Rush is going to be announced for Nintendo Switch, like, if not this week, next week. For sure. All right, moving on here. Ronnie Fozzie, it's more so about the healthy competition rather than console war stuff. Oh, right. Yeah, I agree. There needs to be healthy competition, right? But I guess my point is simply that, between Xbox still having Game Pass, right? PC gaming, Nintendo, I think Nintendo is going to be healthy. Nintendo's I guess to your point, like, yeah, I do think Nintendo is going to keep Sony in check. But is there going to be an opportunity for, there's also, I guess there's Steam Deck, but that's not really a significant competitor. I mean, you could argue that there was in the 90s, right? It was, Sega Genesis did all right, but PS1 was dominant, and then Nintendo was like a distant second, and that was fine. So that it may be like that. I don't think Nintendo's gonna be a distant second, though. I think Nintendo and Sony are gonna be kind of neck and neck, and then there's all these other little things surrounding them. That we 09. Yep. Also, my optimistic side is thinking we'll finally get a 3D Donkey Kong this year. If Pikmin 4 is selling 4 million, that will have given a lot of confidence to any other devs, especially DK. Yeah, Pikmin 4 looks like it's going to sell 4 million, right? Because it's already at 3.33 after the holidays. That's awesome. I'm so happy to see that. I don't know if they will like all of a sudden start putting out games just because of Pikmin 4's success. But it is a sign that Nintendo can turn around their series, as they've done throughout the Switch era, right? Pikmin 4 is just another one. Lord Alduin, I did see Tears of the Kingdom sale. I talked about it already. I don't know if you mentioned this. I'm not sure how late I am into the chat, so that could be the case that you brought this up after I talked about it. Truth Bomb. Switch will come out March or April 2025. Lock it in. I don't agree. And Nintendo Scarlet, I would be a huge direct with Prime 2 and 3 for me. It would be a huge direct for if Prime 2 and 3 come. Yeah, that would be pretty huge for me as well, Nintendo Scarlet. Paul Gale, things are lining up nicely. That may be. Omar David's salute. Okay, see. Salute Andres Restart chat. Who would be doing these Xbox ports and in-house studios respectively have not imagined Xbox's hardware going forward? I honestly don't know enough about Xbox to tell you who would be working on it, so I can't give you much of an answer there. I can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not gonna I can't answer it because I don't know. Zephyr, do you think we get a Xenoblade export? I don't think we're going to get a Xenoblade Chronicles export. I think we're going to get a Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition when the time is right. I'm not sure. Because of that, I'm actually leaning on it not coming to Nintendo Switch, but Switch 2 down the road. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I've been thinking. Let's see here. All right, moving on. All right. So let's talk about the direct situation. So let's see here. So I made a mistake earlier today because they speak Portuguese, but Universal Nintendo is a Brazilian news site. A Brazilian Nintendo news site. I've known this, but I mixed up Portuguese and Brazilian earlier today. Brazilian speak Portuguese, right? So the website's in Portuguese, but it's a Brazilian news site, right? A Brazilian Nintendo news site. And they are reporting that a Nintendo Direct is happening next week. And they actually updated the article and are saying it's happening on February 15th. And so this is interesting because this conflicts with people like, for example, Special Nick that apparently had heard a direct is happening this week. But at this point, it doesn't look like that's happening. So who's more right? Well, Special Nick is more of an Xbox guy, and he didn't want to put it out with too much confidence. He even said, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything." So, he may have just been heard rumblings and assumed it was next week. Or not. Until tomorrow passes, we won't know for certain. But Universal Nintendo is reporting that it's happening on February 15th. And so what's interesting about that is that Mario vs. Donkey Kong comes out the day after. But also, lately Nintendo Directs in February has happened on Wednesdays. This is happening on a Thursday. So them pushing it up a day is very peculiar, and also putting it out right before Mario vs. Donkey Kong is also very peculiar. And so this kind of adds a little more fuel to the fire of me thinking that the way this direct is going to go down is not the typical direct. So there's something there, right? Like, so for example, think about this, right? Why would they they don't put out directs the day before a game comes out? They don't do that. And also, you're not going to shadow drop a big Nintendo game on a Thursday when you have Mario vs. Donkey Kong coming out on a Friday. We normally get shadow drops during February, I say normally. Lately, we've been getting shadow drops, right? And so, are they going to shadow drop something on a Thursday, only to come out with Mario vs. Donkey Kong hours later? I don't know about that. And this, so to the point about the partner showcase, if you have a partner showcase, that's about showcasing third-party projects, right? If you're talking about third-party games, that doesn't impact Mario vs. Donkey Kong too much. That comes out a day later, or hours later, right? So I think it's interesting that this is what's being reported right now. I'm gonna put a poll. Let's see what you guys think. I know I did a poll last week, but I'm curious how you guys feel about it now. What will be the direct next week? So I'm asking this question, right? I'm gonna put 3 options: big, general, Nintendo Direct, Nintendo Direct Mini, partner showcase, and some Nintendo announcements. And Twitter drops. Yeah, there we go. There's the poll. I'm curious how you guys are gonna go at this now, because I think a direct happening on a Thursday is odd, because of Mario versus Donkey Kong. Also, yeah, I could have put Indie World, but I this is not about an Indie World. Blue hair, I don't think so. Spheromancer, yes, I agree. It's gonna the direct is probably gonna be 20 minutes focused on Link's crossbow training too, and that's why there's the Zelda concert and the Wolf Link amiibo. Okay. I'm looking here, and no one seems not no one, but a small percentage thinks it's a partner showcase. Most of you still think it's a big general Nintendo Direct. And I hope you're all right. I really do. You know, I mean, I've already said I want the Direct to open up with Wind Waker Twilight Princess. I want them to announce Metroid Prime 2 and give us a teaser of Metroid Prime 4. Like, that's what I want, and that's what I think makes sense. I don't think any of that takes away from, like, you know, either a Switch 2 reveal in March. Maybe showing off Prime 4, but I'm just asking for a teaser, right? I'm asking for a little, I'm asking for a crumb. I'm not asking for a full plate. I'm asking for a crumb. And I think there are some third-party stuff that need to be announced, like Hi-Fi Rush. I do think that, what is it? We talked about it last week. I do think we are getting an Asano game announcement. I've definitely warmed up to that idea, right? So something like Triangle Strategy or Bravely Default 2. Like, I think we can get something like that announced, which would be actually pretty good. And I also think we need to get more news on Luigi's Mansion 2 and also Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I think we're getting new content in Thousand Year Door, and so I think they should finally announce that. And that's kind of like, I mean, basically that's what those are my predictions for a direct. For that's it. That's what I sort of think. Did I mention Hi-Fi Rush already? That as well, but obviously we'll get a little bit more info on the Splatoon 3 DLC on top of that. Those are pretty much my expectations for a direct right there. That is it. Where is the chat? Can't find it anymore. Oh, Nintendo Scarlet. Yeah, I forgot to mention. I also think there will be farming sims and GRPGs. Dark Shadow Rage. It's going to be a direct from about them bringing back the Zelda cartoon and extending it past 13 episodes, bringing it back all the original voice actors. Hey, that's something Zelda. I'll take it. Maybe. Blue hair. Maybe a Pizza Tower for Nintendo Switch is a possibility. I'm not. I've seen people bring up Pizza Tower. Maybe it's something I should know more about, and I don't. I'm now Googling it, and I'm also now getting hungry. Pizza Tower. Interesting. It came out recently. Came out last year. Huh. I mean, it doesn't seem like something that wouldn't be able to come to Switch. That's for sure. Well, it came out early last year. Huh. Cool. Actually. Yeah. Let me watch a trailer for it. Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower trailer. Whoa. Hold on. Uh-oh. I see a video. I have to watch someone's video later. Talk about more Zelda and Donkey Kong evidence. We'll see about that. Anyway, where's my Pizza Tower trailer? So I know so I can learn what this game's about. I'm gonna play it for you guys. Just give me a second. You should see us now. All right. Interesting. Looks fun. Hope it's not expensive. Alright. Alright, that's cool. I don't need to continue watching it. Alright. Interesting. I now know what it is. It's a platformer. Small platformer, but it looks fun. Okay. Yeah, I mean that could be announced, I guess. It's not all the realm of possibility. Omar David adds me. Nintendo may provide cross remakes Switch 2 to the Expo. I like that. Will operate on software from an evolved proprietary Nintendo game engine, which make natural sense for a custom Switch focused segment. Yeah. So, like I think Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, the remake, it kind of seems like a possible cross-gen title. It has the colored buttons. So there could be something to that one. We'll see. But there could be something there. Obviously, we already know about Metroid Prime 4. Well, we don't know if it's going to be cross-gen. We assume it's going to be cross-gen. Zalato. You know what I would love to see? A Metroid Prime 4 trailer in the Super Bowl. It would be so out of left field. It would be awesome. I think there was a Switch commercial one once, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so there was Super Bowl commercial for Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure. Back in 2017, but it was already out. And so I don't see there being a Super Bowl commercial for Metroid Prime 4 this year. Maybe next year. It's possible for next year. Or they might do 3D Mario or Mario Kart might be a really good like Super Bowl commercial. I definitely think there will be Switch 2 Super Bowl commercials next year. At least one for something. There will be. I see that for sure. All right, so looking here at the poll, 7 minutes in. I'm going to leave it up for another a couple more minutes here, but man, yeah, everyone just still thinks it's going to be a big General Direct, and I got to tell you, we don't know about the games coming April through June, and regardless of if Switch 2 is coming out this year or not, we still need to learn about April through June, right? And so I do understand that, and so I think we are getting some form of Nintendo news that will kind of make it clear what is going down between April through June. I totally believe that. 100%. 100%. However they choose to do that, I think we are getting news that will showcase everything we need to know for the first half of the year. Chris Gravitrax. Surely if Puro doesn't know anything about a Direct, the Direct happening is becoming a slim chance. Well, hey, that's another interesting point. Puro hasn't said anything yet about a Direct. So that strongly suggests it's not this week. But next week is absolutely still on the table. So yeah, it's probably next week at this stage. Although Puro eventually will be cut off, probably, right? It feels like most people's when they have that level of leakage, that kind of info is cut off eventually. I don't think Nintendo wants Puro leaking out the information he does. I think it's a matter of time before Puro eventually runs out. But I mean, I could be wrong there. Maybe Puro is the ultimate immortal leaker, right? But it's not like Puro has been leaking things like this all this time. Puro is a fairly recent thing, like this last year. Wyatt, I'm glad you enjoyed the internet. I'm glad you enjoyed the show the other day. Yeah. All right, so we got 99 votes. I'm waiting for one more vote. Y'all are trying to vote the big General Nintendo Direct into existence next week. And I so hope that's the case. I'm waiting for one more vote. I want to see it at 100. It's got 99 votes. Who else is going to vote? Who's going to do it? Or maybe it's just not updating and it's already been there. Oh, there it is. All right. I am now ending the poll. Okay. The votes are rolling in now. You're just making it look worse. Yes, liking the stream we very much appreciated. Thank you for reminding me the M52. Liking the stream is very helpful. Mark Leota, Piora is the only leaker I trust with 100% certainty. Yeah, once Piora says something, it's very much a likelihood, it seems. So YouTube always deducts like 1% sometimes. I don't know why they do that. It's weird. Although looking at it here, because it was 3 ways, 69 plus 11 is 80. Then plus 18 is 98%. So they deducted 2% from the poll, which is just wild. Let's say that the big general direct, 70% of you said that next week there will be a big general direct. About 18% said Nintendo Direct Mini, and let's say 12% about said partner showcase and Twitter drops. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, the MF2. The rounding error is definitely the rounding error is deducted. It made it a vote of 98% and not 100. It's so weird. Omar David, Nintendo may provide cross-gen remakes. A Switch 2, thinking about households and multiple Switch segments. Maybe. Yeah, Gina, there doesn't look like there's a direct this week. That definitely seems to be the case. So, yeah, this is where we're at, guys. I mean, I feel like if you guys think a general direct still happening next week, it makes sense. It makes sense because we still need to get Nintendo information. I just think they may do it in an unorthodox way. So, like, even if we get a partner showcase, right? I still think you got to make announcements, right? Like, they got to make announcements and not just third-party stuff. Like, it has to be Nintendo stuff for April through June. Like, that I think that has to be the case pretty much. And so, what do? Well, if there is a partner showcase, then they would have. I think they would either everything that's filling up April through June are Nintendo games, but made by third-party partners, right? Like, so, for example, what if Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door remake is being remade by outside of Nintendo? I think that would technically count as a partner showcase then. I feel like that's not the case, but what if, right? And so, like, what if Metro Prime 2 is being made by Iron Galaxy and not Retro Studios, like the port? And so that would be a partner showcase, showcasing the projects made by Nintendo's partners. So it's conceivable, right? Like, we've seen like Mario Rabbids, for example, in a partner showcase. It's made by Ubisoft and it has to do with the Rabbids, but it's also Mario. So it's conceivable. Netweed is saying that Botox is still saying this week. I mean, Botox is just sticking to his prediction, but he's totally understands that it could be next week. Him and I are on the same page. We both predicted this week, just purely nothing crazy, just because that's how it happened the last 2 years. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more to it. But if you look at the larger picture, direction happened outside of the first full week of the month. And so that looks like what's about to happen. Kick it smooth. There's definitely going to be something. I don't see them completely skipping February 1st Switch 2 presentation. I mean, I agree. There's got to be something. They need to give us the stuff for the next few months, regardless. Nindies tomorrow. Can that just be shadow dropped? Maybe. King Frost, a direct will show us a lot about the state of the Switch 2. If it's small, then Switch 2 is definitely coming. Yeah. That's the big thing about this direct. It's going to kind of show Nintendo's hand during this supposed Switch 2 transition. LA Plush Plays. Do you think by the end of this year that Switch could pass PS2 as the best-selling console of all time? I'm going to say no. Not by the end of this year, because sales have been just trending downwards. And so I think it'll be close, But I think 2025 is when Switch will pass PS2. So I think it'll happen. I just don't think it'll happen in 2024. The real J-Stone, what if the February Direct is at the 21st? Then I'll probably just shut up. Because, I'll be like, oh, I guess I don't know. If it doesn't happen in February, I'll be like, oh, I don't know what's happening anymore. If it doesn't happen next week, I'll lose my mind. Because also the Pokemon Presents happens at the end of the month. So that's something else to keep in mind, right? Like you don't want the Direct to be too close to the Pokemon Presents. You want to space that out a little bit. So I would be surprised if we have to wait until the 21st for a February Direct. But at the same time, though, if it is the case that it happens the 21st, I'll be like, all right, well, I think it's a full General Direct. I'll agree, right? I'll be like, oh yeah, we're getting a full General Direct February 21st. I would be all in on that, and I would definitely be very, very excited for what they're going to show. So it's all bittersweet, right? If something doesn't happen, it means something else is going to happen instead. Snick Snack asks, has Nate the Hate said anything about Direct lately? I feel like he usually knows things. Well, actually, yeah, he did say, he said a number of things. Nothing with a lot of explicit detail, but for example, on fan boards, he said this. It's more I know the exact format of the Direct and what to expect from it, but I don't know the day of the presentation. I was answering question. This same thread lost their collective minds, where Grubb said he expected a Direct in February. So Nate the Hate knows what the format of the Direct will be. Excuse me. But when he posted this is last week, right? And so now it looks like people know when the Direct is actually happening. So it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see. He knows the format of the Direct, but what is that format? Why is there an emphasis on the format? There may not be much of a much to it there, but I'm just throwing it out there. It may be the case that the format of this Direct may be out of the ordinary. So, but I think I'm actually gonna wrap up the stream fairly soon, everyone. So last 15 minutes. I'm gonna go for another 15 minutes. So any final questions or things you want me to discuss? This would be the time to put it out there. Yes, Netweed's right. Nintendo, please listen. I'm getting snivels here. But yeah, I'm wrapping up the stream now. So final questions, final points, and then I'm going to call it a night. Then just send them over to Nintendo Prime. It's about to be a party. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should. Yeah. Connor, what should HAL Laboratory do for Kirby? I know Nintendo Law did a video of HAL Laboratory's tweet about working on Kirby, but maybe this could be a sequel for Forgotten Land. What do I think they should HAL should do? I think they should be working on a sequel to Forgotten Land. Maybe not like a story sequel, but I think they should make another 3D Kirby game like Forgotten Land, if not bigger and better. And so that's what they should be doing. That's what I think they're doing, and that's what's got to happen. So Forgotten Land is the best Kirby game ever, and I want them to continue that because it was amazing, and I want more of it. But they can take their time with it. I don't need it immediately. I'm thinking it comes out next year, though. It's Ninja asked me, do you think they might do some type of Olympic game this year, possibly another Sonic and Mario crossover? I mean, yeah. Isn't it about time for Mario and Sonic at the Olympics? Mario and Sonic. Let's see here. The last one was 2020. That came out 2019. So we're kind of overdue, aren't we? Maybe they're just done with it. We were like, oh, we don't want to do this anymore. Wasn't there an Olympic delay, or was that like before Tokyo Olympics? Maybe that has something to do with it. So it was delayed a little bit, right? All right. So when is the next Olympics? Next Olympics. It starts this summer. Nothing's been announced yet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about the Olympic thing. Mark Liotta, chances of a new Donkey Kong or Star Fox showing up at the Direct. You want my opinion? So, my opinion of a Star Fox showing up in the Direct, I think the only thing Star Fox that would show up in a Direct at this point in the year would be some type of remaster or remake of an old Star Fox game. And so that I would say 15%. 15% for some type of Star Fox remaster remake in a Direct. Donkey Kong, I'll say I think there's like a 35 to 40%, 33% chance that they announce something Donkey Kong in a Direct. Period. Not remaster remake. It could be remaster remake, but just period. Like another Donkey Kong thing. And I say that purely because of the Donkey Kong expansion that's opening in spring. That's why. Star Fox, on the other hand, the reason I'm so low on Star Fox is because I think a new Star Fox project or some kind of Star Fox project is in the works, but I think it's being saved for Switch 2. However, we did get those 3D action remaster hiring posts at Bandai Namco a while back that now no longer can be found. There are 3D action hiring posts, but not specifically for a remaster anymore. But with that said, that's why I put in a 50% chance for Star Fox remaster, because maybe that's what they were hiring for. But I think most likely we're not going to see Star Fox until Switch 2. It's still probably also Donkey Kong as well, right? But I think there's a higher chance Donkey Kong gets shown because of the park opening, and maybe that's a Switch 1 thing. Sky Swords Alyssa. Sonic Adventure 2 is such a great game. I love the KO Gardens, and then we could play through Villain's Eyes post-game. Yeah, Sonic Adventures are awesome. I'd like to revisit those. I never actually got to play them from beginning to end. I didn't own them, but they were cool. Leo Aguiar, I wonder if we have 2 directs where you have a general direct and one more thing is the reveal of Switch 2 and more details later in the future. That would be like a best case scenario in terms of some type of Switch 2 announcement in a direct. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Nintendo doesn't really do that. Normally when they showcase directs, when they showcase new hardware, it's separately, especially for a whole new generation. Typically when Nintendo announces a direct, they kind of give us a good something to kind of work with in terms of understanding what they're about to do. They'll say, hey, tune in at this time for a direct presentation focused on games coming up this spring for a Nintendo Switch. They'll say mostly focused, right? So there can be a little bit of stuff, and so there is wiggle room there, but I think that's probably not what they're going to do. Yeah. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay. Pretty much near the end of the stream. Let me see if I can set this up so for those that want to go over to Nintendo Prime stream, it'll just send them over. I don't know if it's going to give me an option. It used to. Might not be able to do it. I should be able to do it midstream. Let's see. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Reactions. Live chat. Oh, there we are. Yep. There we go. Yeah. Now it's set up to redirect when I finish in a few minutes. All right. Where are we at here? Connor, don't give up on Tamagotchi life. Someday you'll get your precious Tamagotchi life. Nintendo Scarlet. Street Fighter 5 for Switch 2 launch, just like 3DS launch. Calling it now. All right. Leo, a Switch 2 teaser or a Metro Prime 4 teaser at the end would be divine. Metro Prime 4 is a lot more believable to me than Switch 2 than a Switch 2. Hello there, Harry Myers. Connor, you can talk about Tamagotchi life as much as you want. Keep talking about it. That's totally fine. I do not want to discourage you from your excitement for a Tamagotchi life someday. Keep talking about it. Chiff Monkey earlier asked, have we heard anything from Grezzo lately? I know that they made their, I think I downloaded it on my phone. I wonder if I deleted it already. Let's see here. What was the name of the game? It was a dragon game. It's on yeah, it's called Jet Dragon. They released that not too long ago, but that's a smaller thing. I think Grezzo's definitely working on something, but we don't know what it is. There were people that were speculating that because Grezzo was hiring for some sort of like a fantasy medieval kind of game. But it also, if you look at those job hirings, it had a description for the use of the Unity engine, and that's what Jet Dragon is. So it's a Unity game that has fantasy medieval elements. So there you go. That's what they were hiring for. But Grezzo, historically speaking, has worked mostly with Nintendo, and it's been a while. Last game they put out for Nintendo Switch was Miitopia. Actually wasn't that long ago. Was it 2021 that Miitopia came out? The remaster or remake? I gotta double check what it is, but I don't want the original release. I want the Switch release. Why? I don't understand why. Why does Google do this? Okay, Miitopia was announced 2 years ago, approximately, according to YouTube. February 17th, it was announced. And it came out in 2021. All right. So, I mean, we're in 2024, right? We're almost 3 years removed from their last game having come out. We are getting close. In fact, I think it's interesting. Let's look up Grezzo's lineup of games that have come out over the years. So, yeah, they came out Jet Dragon last year on iPhone. Yeah. And then Miitopia 2021. And 2 years before that was Link's Awakening remake. And the year before that was Luigi's Mansion remake. Year before that was Alliance Alive and Ever Oasis. So they have a pretty good output of games. And so I would say Jet Dragon is not a large thing. I would say 2024 is a reasonable time for us to see something from Grezzo. Probably assuming it's a remaster remake. If it's a new game, that conceivably could be pushed to 2025 for Switch 2, but conceivably we could see another Grezzo game this year. Who knows? Maybe it's Tamagotchi Life, right? Like after the success of Miitopia, maybe they want to do that. Or maybe they're behind a Zelda remake, maybe a 2D Zelda game or a new 2D Zelda game, which I think could come out. I don't know. I've had my Ocarina of Time remake theories, so there's that to consider, but yeah, Grezzo, we're definitely getting close to seeing a Grezzo game. So it's definitely worth pointing out. Leo, we haven't heard anything from Next Level either. So Next Level's last game was Mario Strikers, which came out, 22? Right? Apparently, I don't know about yeah, so they came out Mario Strikers Battle League in 2022. I see here in Wiki, which it's just a wiki, right? There's not necessarily truth to this, but that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is listed there. Now, That may just be because they made the original Dark Moon, and so they may have a hand in Luigi's Mansion 2, but that does not mean they're making the full-on HD game. But I want to look this up. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Let's see what it says on Nintendo's website here. I'll share it so we can have everyone tagging along. Is there anything on Nintendo's website that indicates... I can't find StreamYard anymore. It's just gone from existence. I have too many tabs open. That's what's going on. There we go. All right. So anything here that suggests that Next Level is developing this? I don't see that. Soft description provided by the publisher. No, nothing there. Publisher Nintendo. Nothing there. Yeah, there's nothing here. I think it might just be suggested that because they made the original. Unless someone in the chat has heard of something that changes my opinion on that. I don't think we actually know who's working on Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Let's see here. You sold your GameCube, Cold Brew. I miss my GameCube. I wish I still had it. That would have been nice. But alas, it's gone. Anyways, I think we've pretty much reached the end of tonight's stream. There may be another stream later this week, so stay tuned for that one. We got more to talk about in the not so distant future, my friends. But everyone, thank you for watching. If you could leave a like, that'd be appreciated. But I'll see you soon. Take care.